Biblical and Theological Foundations of the Antichrist Concept. The concept of the Antichrist, deeply rooted in biblical texts and theological interpretation, has evolved into one of the most intriguing and debated figures within Christian eschatology. Its foundational origins can be traced to key New Testament writings, particularly the first and second epistles of John and Paul's second letter to the Thessalonians. These texts not only introduce the term but also establish its dual nature as both a collective spirit opposing Christ and an individual figure destined to emerge in the end times. In 1 John 2 verse 18, the Apostle John explicitly states that, "Even now many antichrists have come," suggesting a multiplicity of manifestations throughout history. This collective dimension is further reinforced by references to those who deny Jesus as the Christ or reject his physical incarnation, 1 John 4 verse 3. Simultaneously, John hints at a singular future Antichrist whose arrival signifies the culmination of apostasy and rebellion against divine authority. Thus, the Antichrist emerges as both a pervasive spiritual force and an ultimate adversary embodying defiance against God's sovereignty.
Early church fathers such as Irenaeus and Hippolytus played pivotal roles in shaping early Christian interpretations of these scriptural passages. For instance, Irenaeus associated the Antichrist with Paul's prophecy of the man of sin in 2 Thessalonians 2 verses 3-4, describing him as a figure who would exalt himself above all gods and proclaim himself divine in the temple. Building on Daniel's vision of the little horn, Daniel 7 verse 8, Irenaeus speculated that the Antichrist might originate from the tribe of Dan, drawing connections between Old Testament prophecies and New Testament eschatology. Similarly, Hippolytus expanded upon his mentor's ideas, asserting that the Antichrist would deceive Jews into believing he is their Messiah while rebuilding the Temple in Jerusalem, a location imbued with profound symbolic significance for end-times events. Their exegetically methods often employed numerology, particularly the infamous number 666 mentioned in Revelation 13:18, which they linked to tyrannical rulers like Nero, thereby situating the Antichrist within historical contexts of oppression and corruption. Paul's description of the man of lawlessness in 2 Thessalonians 2 verses 3-4 provides critical theological insights into the Antichrist's character and actions. According to Paul, this figure will oppose divine authority, exalt himself in the temple of God, and proclaim himself to be God. Such behavior underscores themes of arrogance, self-deification, and blasphemy, central to understanding the Antichrist archetype. Furthermore, Paul's emphasis on the Antichrist's rise occurring after a period of apostasy highlights the interconnectedness of moral decay and eschatological fulfillment. This portrayal resonates with broader biblical motifs, including Daniel's depiction of the Antichrist oppressing the saints and attempting to alter laws during a 3.5-year reign, Daniel 7 verse 25. Together, these accounts construct a composite image of the Antichrist as a harbinger of chaos and deception, wielding immense power through supernatural signs and coercive measures, such as enforcing economic control via the mark of the beast, Revelation 13 verses 16-17. These foundational interpretations have significantly influenced contemporary understandings of the Antichrist archetype within Christian theology. Modern scholars and theologians continue to build upon ancient exegesis, integrating cultural and geopolitical developments into their analyses. For example, Francisco Ribera's futurist perspective, which posits the Antichrist's emergence just before the world's end, diverges markedly from earlier Protestant reformers who identified the papacy as fulfilling anti-Christian characteristics. Additionally, media portrayals of the Antichrist often reflect ongoing societal anxieties about authoritarianism and technological surveillance, illustrating how ancient religious concepts are continually reshaped to fit modern contexts. By examining these enduring themes, denial of Christ's incarnation, defiance against divine authority, and deceptive manipulation, the Antichrist remains a compelling lens through which to explore humanity's perennial struggle with truth, morality, and ultimate redemption. Geographical and symbolic predictions of the Antichrist's origin. The geographical and symbolic origins of the Antichrist have long been a subject of theological inquiry, drawing from biblical prophecies in texts such as Revelation, Daniel, and Isaiah. These scriptures not only provide potential locations tied to the Antichrist's emergence but also imbue these places with profound symbolic meaning. The convergence of historical, scriptural, and cultural interpretations offers a rich tapestry through which scholars can explore this eschatological figure's identity and influence. Revelation 13 verse 1 describes the Antichrist emerging from the sea, symbolizing Gentile nations, specifically referencing peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. Revelation 17 verse 15. This imagery suggests a Mediterranean or European connection, potentially linking the Antichrist's origin to regions historically dominated by ancient empires like Rome. The 7 heads of the beast representing 7 mountains directly aligns with Rome, often referred to as the city built on 7 hills. This interpretation strengthens scholarly views that associate the Antichrist with a revived Roman Empire, possibly centered in Europe or even Rome itself. Furthermore, Daniel's vision of a coalition of 10 nations within the framework of a reconstituted Roman power structure underscores the geopolitical significance of this region in end-times prophecy.
Symbolically, the beasts described in Daniel 7 contribute to the understanding of how ancient empires are linked to the Antichrist's dominion.
Each empire, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome, is represented by distinct animals: the lion for Babylon, the bear for Medo-Persia, and the leopard for Greece. These qualities are embodied in the Antichrist, reflecting how past world powers contribute to his persona. The mortal wound healing mentioned in Revelation 13 signifies global awe towards him, portraying the culmination of humanity's longing for leadership amid chaos. Thus, the layered symbolism of these ancient empires enriches our comprehension of geographic locales tied to the Antichrist's origin and influence.
Medieval traditions further elaborate on the Antichrist's birthplace and reign. Adso of Montirender's influential text posits that the Antichrist will be born of the tribe of Dan in Babylon, performing false miracles and deceiving many. Unlike Christ, who was born of a virgin through divine conception, the Antichrist is said to be born of a whore through diabolical influence. This stark dichotomy emphasizes the medieval tendency to frame the Antichrist as the ultimate inversion of Christ, highlighting themes of deception and opposition to divine authority. Moreover, medieval interpretations anticipated the Antichrist's reign extending to Jerusalem, where he would desecrate the rebuilt temple, a scenario paralleled in modern discussions about brokering peace between Israel and its adversaries. Modern theological perspectives connect contemporary geopolitical developments in the Middle East to eschatological expectations. Scholars suggest that northern Iraq, historically part of Assyria, could serve as a focal point for end-times events. Passages in Isaiah and Micah describe the Antichrist as an Assyrian ruler who will subjugate Israel before being defeated by divine intervention. This consensus among historic premillennialists reflects a belief in the enduring relevance of ancient divisions in shaping eschatological scenarios.
Additionally, the drying up of the Euphrates River and the judgment pronounced against Babylon in Revelation 16 verses 10 to 19 align with other prophecies identifying the Antichrist's capital city within former Seleucid territory. In summary, the geographical predictions and symbolic locations tied to the Antichrist's origin encompass a complex interplay of historical, scriptural, and cultural elements. From the revival of Roman power structures in Europe to the symbolic significance of Babylon and the anticipated role of northern Iraq, these interpretations offer valuable insights into the multifaceted nature of eschatological discourse. While definitive identification remains elusive until after the rapture, ongoing analysis of geopolitical developments and scriptural exegesis continues to refine our understanding of the Antichrist's potential origins and manifestations. Historical manifestations of the Antichrist spirit across eras, a comprehensive analysis. The concept of the Antichrist spirit has evolved significantly throughout history, reflecting societal fears, theological interpretations, and political anxieties. This section examines the historical manifestations of the Antichrist spirit across various eras, drawing from biblical texts, historical accusations against rulers, heretical movements within early Christian communities, and theological essays by church fathers. By analyzing these multifaceted dimensions, this discussion aims to provide a nuanced understanding of how the Antichrist archetype has been constructed and reinterpreted over time. One of the earliest historical figures accused of embodying the Antichrist spirit is Roman Emperor Nero, whose reign, 54 to 68 CE, was marked by allegations of cruelty and persecution of Christians following the Great Fire of Rome in 64 CE. Although contemporary historians like Candida Moss and Brent Shaw argue that these narratives may have been exaggerated or fabricated by later writers such as Tacitus, Nero's image became deeply intertwined with apocalyptic imagery centuries after his death. By the early 3rd century, he was retroactively conflated with the seven-headed beast described in Revelation 13 verses 1 to 18, symbolizing oppressive rulers who defy divine authority. The symbolic number 666 associated with the beast has been debated as a potential numerical code for Nero Caesar, further solidifying his identification with the Antichrist archetype. This transformation illustrates how historical figures are often reinterpreted through eschatological frameworks to serve theological agendas, revealing the adaptability of apocalyptic narratives to suit socio-political anxieties. Beyond Nero, other prominent rulers have been labeled as embodiments of the Antichrist spirit due to their perceived defiance of moral and religious norms.
For instance, Napoleon Bonaparte and Adolf Hitler were both accused of harboring Antichrist ideologies during periods of upheaval and resistance against authority.
These accusations typically arose from contexts of crisis, where leaders were viewed as threats to established orders or divine principles. In medieval Europe, accusations of being the Antichrist were frequently directed at monarchs, popes, and other powerful figures. The 7th century Spanish bishop Isidore of Seville identified the Antichrist as an outsider, heretics, Jews, or Muslims, while the 10th century abbot Adso claimed the Antichrist would be Jewish. Such allegations reflect deep-seated anti-Semitic sentiments and fears of the other within Christian societies, demonstrating how eschatological beliefs were weaponized to reinforce religious authority and justify exclusionary practices.